Good morning, sunshine. Joe here again with you. Today we want to talk to you about how to actually complete an application for funding in the GMRPTC application portal. If you want to check out the changes to this year's application process, take a look at our other video or go and take a look at the funding guidelines and criteria document. This tutorial is a companion to the application contents document that is contained in the application toolbox on our website. There are three things to think about when preparing your application. The first is to make sure you have a shovel-ready project available. The second is to develop the application itself. The third is being ready for pre-contract requirements should your application be successful. If you spend time on all three of these areas, your application and your project has a much better chance of being successful. Let's take a closer look. Let's talk about creating a viable project first. What type of project are you looking to create? Maybe it's an environmental planning project that may include SHPO, TIPO, or other types of archaeological and environmental work. That's an environmental planning project. Maybe you're looking to construct your next trail or park project. Is it time to reconstruct those favorite campground amenities? Or maybe you need to add new amenities down at your waterfront for fishing, swimming, or other features. Those are great examples of legacy-funded projects from over the past 10 years. Or maybe you're looking to do something that will draw new people into your park, such as creating new programming or events, or maybe having some rental equipment available for people to explore the outdoors. Maybe you need to improve accessibility into some of your facilities for people with disabilities. Or maybe you're looking to create new partnerships with communities that don't traditionally use your park. Connecting people to the outdoors or CPO project may be another fantastic type of legacy application for your community. Your application success will depend on how well you define the project at this stage. Do not hesitate to contact us at any time if you have questions or just want to talk through ideas. Here are some key tips. A local match is not required, but it does help your score. Every year we mourn projects that don't quite make the cut because they don't have any local match to help with their score. Find a way to get some local match in as a part of your project, if at all possible. A large component of scoring for any project is how well it completes a regionally significant component of your master plan. So make sure to use the master plan linkage feature in the application itself to show us exactly where in your master plan your project is identified. Having a good solid master plan approved by the Commission is the first step towards funding. Let's show that connection and how that works. Be sure to get your board or council resolution included in the application on time. The sample resolution language is included in our application toolbox. That sample resolution must be the language that is included from your city or council approval. If you have any questions about the language, please do feel free to contact us. Also be aware that if you have partners, other cities or counties that are involved in the project, they may have to sign a resolution as well. If you have funding sources other than your local government that are included in the match, be sure to include documentation from those sources as well. The final tip, plans and maps take time. Make sure you do a good job putting together some sort of schematic design that meets the requirements that are found in the application contents. We're looking for maps that show your entire park and where features are located. We're looking for schematic designs for buildings and roadways and paths and trails that show in adequate detail that you've thought through all of the issues and challenges that may come up during your project. The point of all this is to make sure that you've put enough thought into the project that you know your budget will be successful. We do not require construction level documents, blueprints, or even bid level documents. But we do require some good schematic design, some thoughtful, professionally prepared documents. Make sense so far? Great, you're off to a great start. Let's keep moving forward. Now it's time to complete your application. All funding applications, just like master plans, are completed online in the Data Management System portal. If you go to our homepage, gmrptcommission.org, simply go to the Applications tab, and what you will see here is the Apply Here button. This big blue box is actually a button that will get you into the Data Management System portal.
as well as other information that can be very important, such as general instructions about use of the portal, the application process, deadlines, and other information such as additional funding applications that may be open at any time. One key thing I want you to look at is the application toolbox. This is very important. In this toolbox, you will find information about all of the designation application tutorials, sample resolutions, the master plan content standards tutorials, and most importantly for this discussion, you'll see funding application section of the toolbox. It includes the updated funding guidelines and criteria documents, instructions, non-infrastructure project management policy or connecting people to the outdoors policy, application contents and standards, and of course the budget spreadsheet information and the required funding resolution. All of these pieces are very important. Let's take a look at the funding guidelines and criteria document. This document is the one you want to look at based on the other tutorial that accompanies this one that shows you what we're looking at for funding, what some of the changes are from year to year. It also lists out the application requirements, everything we're looking for, including required attachments. It includes the project contract deliverables note, which we'll cover a little bit later. And of course, the scoring criteria across 3 different types of applications: parks, trails, and CPO projects. So take a look at those. We also have the eligibility guidelines for parks, trails, what is allowed, what isn't allowed. Make sure you take a look through all of this information on an annual basis because small things do change. We try to eliminate requirements or make things easier in some way every time that we find we have to add some new instructions or add some new requirements. So things will often change more than once over the course of a year. All right, going back, you also want to take a look at the funding application instructions. This includes everything that is in the actual application itself. If you're looking for a way to understand what's in the application or see what the instructions are for any of the particular items, all of that information is included in this document. What's on each tab, what the instructions that are included in brackets are for each slot that you need to fill or attachments that you need to make. All that information is included here in this document. Let's go back to the applications. Let's start by going to the Apply Here button. This gets you into the data management system. Overview of the system. If you have applied before, you should be familiar with this because you helped put in a master plan or have recently taken over duties assigned with being your organization's representative into the data management system. So click Get Started, enter your email and password, and click Login. And here is the dashboard. Your current facility, including my sample facility P and the application ID number are here. Do not click New Application at this point. That is for a brand new Parker Trail for a designation application. That's not what you're looking for yet. Some agencies do have more than one Parker Trail, so they may have a list of different facilities here. So we will just click on the one facility we have here for us, for our sample. And here is where you can click on New Funding Application. Click on the green button to start your new application for this year. I will click, because right now we don't have an application open, I will click one from a previous year. This is what the application looks like inside the portal. It will have information about what is currently open for the funding application cycle. It starts on April 1st, ends the end of July. And then you can scroll down through the application document itself. There's also a link back to the application toolbox right here for your ease of use if you want to go back to that. Otherwise, there are a number of things to really know and understand about your application. Right here on the General tab, you'll see that there are a few items that auto-filled from the system, including Parker Trail ID. Your funding application number will be assigned to you, and you will have a chance to enter your Parker Trail name, the district, and the existing miles or acres for your facility. Key here, you want to add your project name. There are two things we want you to see and use is regarding the tools that are available you right on the application. First is this little blue I button that is included next to just about all of the information items in the application. Simply hover over that and you will see the instructions for that item. And this is the same instructions that are in the application instructions that we looked at in the toolbox. So take a look at this. Anytime you have a question about what needs to go into a box, start with that blue I button. The other tool that is available for you, and this is really important when it comes to achieving a good score for your application, is the sort of little double box icon next to it, which is called the Master Plan Anchor. If you have identified a place in your application where you want to show us very specifically how your project relates to a regionally significant component of the master plan, this is the place to do that. Simply click on this link and your master plan will pop up and you will be able to go through, identify the specific part of your master plan where your project was identified. Most often it's going to be within the development and implementation section, such as one of the development features. Figure out which development feature it is and click that, or it could be an entire phase from your development plan. So I simply clicked on it and that created a link from this particular item to your master plan, and all of us reviewers will be able to very easily go in and identify the piece of the master plan that you want to point out to us. From there, you're picking out a very simple but accurate project name. It could be as simple as Park P Phase 1, or it could be Park P Expansion, or Jim Bob's property acquisition, or whatever you think the case may be. Next, you'll do a project overview. This is a relatively new section. We want you to provide a maximum 75-word overview of the project that helps communicate project scope and the outcomes. And the reason we want this is we're quite often asked to provide an overview of the projects that we fund. And we thought we'd just give you a chance to help guide us as to what that would be. So within 75 words, tell us what your project accomplishes so that it's absolutely clear to us and to the public, including the legislature, as to what your project does. Next, go to the project description. This is the most important section for most of you. This is where you want to describe your project in detail. Do not try and go back and explain everything that is in your master plan. We don't want to know how great your facility is. We already know that. We've been through your site visit. We know your master plan. We believe in you. This is about your particular project, what you're going to accomplish, how you're going to do it, what it will do for the public. So describe that within this project description. Here is also your place to add project area and facility maps. We want you to feel free to add as many maps or schematics as you need. Please note that you can click either of these buttons for the map requirements or the site plan requirements, and it is the same information that is included in your instructions. So take a look at the site plans or the map requirements, understand what it is we're looking for. If you have any questions, please let us know. When this application is active, there will be a button here that says simply upload, just like any other file that you may run into. Upload your file and give us a short name for what that file is supposed to be so we can always remember which one we're trying to look at. One other thing you may want to consider adding to this section, or it could be an attachment under other sections such as regionally substantial component of the master plan or other areas within the application, are photos of your project site. We do want to see photos of your site. Think of them as before photos so that when we get done with the project, we can take more pictures from the same angle and the same sites and have wonderful before and after pictures. Those before pictures are going to give our evaluators a very good understanding, an idea of what it is you're trying to accomplish and how it's going to fit into the context of your park or along your trail. So don't shy away from adding pictures or other pictures you may think are of value. We'll take our own pictures during the evaluation site visit, but we want to see it through your eyes as well. Below that, you will want to include all of your applicant information. What organization is it? Who is the lead contact person? And all the contact information. So when you get done with that section, go to the funding section. Within this section, take a look at what is the development type of the project. You'll also be able to select a funding category. Is this a park? Or that would include a trail within a park. Is it a linear trail, such as a long distance trail like the Mesabi Trail, Cannon Valley Trail, that sort of trail? It could be a connecting people to the outdoors project, which we discussed in the intro to this video. Or it could be an environmental type of project, meaning you're looking to get into that pot of funding that can help you to develop the environmental or archaeological work for your site. If you're an acquisition, you want to include here what are the acres of land that you are projecting to acquire through this application, or the new miles of trail that will be acquired. You can also list here the type of acquisition, whether it's an existing easement, new easement, or fee title right of way that you are acquiring. There's several other buttons or boxes here that need to be filled in based on the information that we as well as the DNR require for your grant contract. So feel free to go through there. Number of campsites, number of toilets, number of acres restored, invasive species removed, all that types of information. When it comes to connecting people to the outdoors programs created or administered, please do take a look at the I button here. We're looking at the number of programs, meaning individual discrete events or activities that include a defined group of individuals. And the instructions here even say, for instance, a series of 3 snowshoeing events that attract a different audience for each one would count as 3 programs. A series of 6 weekly 1-hour classes with the same group of school children would count as 1 program. So take a look at what is included in those I buttons when filling these out. Same goes for the number of participants. How many discrete individuals do you anticipate being involved within this CPO project over the life of the project? Here we're looking for project outcomes, your evaluation of impact. Tell us what it is you're going to use to evaluate the success of the project. What are the specific deliverables, such as the number of users benefited, the perceived quality of the facility, the protection of the resource, that sort of thing. We are looking for outcomes here, not necessarily outputs. Outputs being X mile of trails, 2 bathhouses, 600 feet of shoreline restoration. That's great. Tell us about the outcomes. What are you actually going to be providing for people? What's going to be different for your users because of this? How will you evaluate and measure that over time? Here you want to select the legacy pillars that are impacted. There's a definition for each of the legacy pillars from the state of Minnesota's 25-year Legacy Parks and Trails Plan. Click on the ones that are relevant to your project. We find it extremely rare where all 4 of the pillars are impacted by one project if you look at the instructions or the definitions for each of these pillars. Click the ones that are relevant to your particular project, then give us a short description within this box as to why that particular pillar is connected to your project. Here is another opportunity in this box to tell us why your project is connected to a regionally substantial component of the master plan. And this is another great place to use that master plan linkage. But go through and give us the fine details. And we recognize that things can change from what was in the master plan, especially once you get more than a year or 2 into developing your master plan. That's all right. We expect that. Tell us why it changed. Tell us why your first phase or your second phase looks different, or why your funding scheme has changed so much. Reality on the ground of where local funding sources come from, what opportunities come available, or just even what you understand and know, what you've learned as you've implemented your master plan can change things reasonably. but we still want to see that that master plan is moving forward. All right, now you're moving to the project readiness section. This is important for your scoring. Take a look and make sure you spend some time on this. Tell us how your project is ready to go. How is it shovel ready? And how can you assure us that your project is of reasonable scope, reasonable budget, it is implementable, and that you've got the team to do it, to get it done within the 3 years you may have for this grant contract. If you think your project will take longer than that, it might be worthwhile to either deal with whatever issues you think may cause it to be a slow project, such as archaeological work or maybe a need for better design, or scale back the project to something that you think you can complete for your agency within the 3-year timeline. So tell us about your project lead, tell us about your implementation timeline, give us reasonable estimates starting when the grant contract is completed in late summer or fall of next year, and then moving out to final design, bids, or final design and planning for a CPO project, and how all that works through construction seasons until final evaluation of the project and close out of the grant. Availability for public use. We do want to make sure that facilities are available for public use, that they are not necessarily going to be closed to the public for major time periods. If there are things that are fee-based, Commission does have policy. Take a look at that policy in our CPO or non-infrastructure management policy as to what those requirements are. And then the design standards. Tell us what your standards are for developing this. If you've got architects, engineers, landscape architects involved in your project, it helps to say who is involved with that. You should be able to tell us what standards, particularly for trails, what design manual and guidance are you adhering to for the design of your park or your trail. If you're developing a trail, tell us or attach pictures as to what those standards may be. If it's a 10-foot cross section, what are your slopes? What are your clearance zones? All those sorts of things. Tell us about how you're meeting or exceeding ADA standards. It's really about not just meeting ADA standards, it's about being accessible to the public. And in certain cases, it can be quite easy or a little bit of a challenge, but a fun challenge to actually go through and figure, okay, how do we make this more accessible to the public? Are there ways that we can create better interpretation? Add some non-visual cues or information through sound, through texture, all that sort of thing for a wider audience than you may be traditionally thinking. Sustainability plans are very important. Every facility that is built or every Connecting People to the Outdoors project is going to have the lifespan for construction, but also the ongoing sustainability of that facility for whatever its term of life is. If it's 30 years for a trail, 40 years for a building, 5 to 10 years for a CPO project, beyond the funding that we give you, how is it that you are going to maintain that? What is your annual budget for maintaining it? What do you expect as costs over the lifetime of it? As you get further into the lifespan, say a trail 15 years out needs seal coating and crack seal. How are you going to be able to identify what those needs are? How are you going to fund that? Or maybe it's a mountain bike trail in 5 years, you discover you have some washout areas that need work. How are you going to deal with all of those issues as they come up? And then the project cost breakdown. This is an important section for you to go through and tell us how your project is actually broken down. What are the different elements that you are looking to fund? This should be something that's a little bit more than the individual line items that are in your funding application. Give us some details as to why you selected some of the things you did, if this is appropriate for that. All right, now the actual funding request breakdown. What is your grant funding request? What is your local match? And who is that funder that is providing that? Go through each of your funders that are providing your match. Within this, you will also have a spot down here to include that funder and attach the resolution if it's a city or county, or if it's some other entity such as federal highways, or maybe you've got a special grant from a local organization. This is a place for you to put that documentation assuring that you've received that match, or it's your resolution, your required resolution from your county or city. You will also be able to include non-eligible items. This may be things that are required before you even get the grant contract, such as completing your environmental review work, or maybe it's items within your project that are not eligible based on our list. And then fill in your total funding, your percentage of local match, and your completion time frame. And some of this will autofill based on what you provide above. All right, you get through that, and then you can go to the budget worksheet, and this is a simple attachment, either within the toolbox or from this button here.
When you have the spreadsheet available and downloaded, you can see that there are a number of cells that you can fill in to complete, such as your project name, applicant organization, your application number from the application itself, the date that you completed it, as well as all of the information relating to the various items that go into your budget recorded here. Note that there are little pop-up red corners on many of the cells. Those are information items for what we're looking for in each of these cells. So you can see what the instructions are for those as well. And then of course, once you have your quantity for number of benches, yards of gravel, square feet of asphalt, whatever the case may be, times its unit cost, fill out the total cost for the number of items that relate to your project. That will give you a grand total for construction costs. Below that, you can include the design, engineering, and construction administration costs. If you're having someone outside your agency do that for you, and include any final design, bid documents, bid process, as well as construction administration. Include that, can be up to 10% for parks, up to 20% for trails. And then that will give you your soft cost. That is the total eligible for your grant through Legacy. So whatever the total is that you want from Legacy, or the total that you want for the local match, include those numbers right here in these cells, and it will calculate the percentage of Legacy and percentage of local match for you. So that total will show up here. Down below, you'll see non-eligible expense item details. Those are additional items that are not included in your project. Well, they are included in your project, just you can't apply for Legacy for them, whatever those items may be based on the content guidelines document. Include the information for those items here. We'd like to see what you're also putting into the project outside of the Legacy appropriate components. It helps to show that you have put good thought into what is going on in your project, and simply complete those things, save the document, and then you can upload it here just as you do any other file into the application itself.
If you're looking to do acquisition, then you need to include a qualified appraisal. And qualified means that it has to meet the state standards, the DNR standards. All of those guidelines are included here on the links provided under the I button or in the application contents document. You can take a look at those certification requirements. Make sure your appraiser meets all of those requirements, and then attach the appraisal here. You cannot ask for more than what is in the appraisal. Now let's get down to the project contract deliverables. This is that third phase of putting together a good project, a successful project. In the time between when your project is approved for funding and you actually get your contract the following summer or late summer or fall, there's going to be things that you need to do before the DNR, who manages the contracts on the commission's behalf. There's going to be several things that they require to be in place before they will approve your contract and you can begin work. And those things are listed here. You can take a look on the GMRPTC YouTube channel or ask me for a link that will show you the required workshop that was held in the spring. I had the DNR as well as SHPO go through all of these requirements. So if you have questions about what any of these might be, We have information available there that can help you to understand them. You should note too that if you have a small agency or any agency really, that there's going to be some cost involved with some of these items. So it's important to note that it's not only your local match that goes towards receiving the grant, but you should have some dollars set aside or some skills if you have it in-house to actually complete these project contract deliverables, because you will not be getting the grant contract until they are completed, and that is up to your DNR contract manager to identify which deliverables depending on the type of project.
One final thing before we go. Up here at the top, you can see one final tab, the Attachments tab. When you open that tab, you will see that there's space for additional attachments. This is a great place if you have other supportive documents, photographs, evaluations, context, agreements with other agencies. Include those things in this Other Attachments tab to include in your application. Now, when this application is live, the final submit button shows up down in this space as well. You can submit that application at any time. However, if you want me to take a look at your application, certain sections of it, I typically don't get a chance to look at the entire thing, and it's not a truly in-depth review, but I can provide some initial feedback for you. Let me know. I will take a look at those on a first-come, first-served basis, provided there's time before it gets really crunchy around that last week of the application open, and we will try and get some feedback to you to see if there's any way to make sure your application's fairly fine-tuned. If you have any other questions, please let us know at any time. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you on the site visit in August or early September. I hope that this tutorial has helped you prepare your funding application for 2024. Just like my good friends behind me here at Ramsey Park in Redwood Falls, we wish you all the best. We look forward to visiting with you, and good luck with your application. Take care.